Hello, everyone. My name is Helen Menifee, and I'm with the City of Avondale Estates, and we are excited to present the Northwoods Lunch and Learn to give background on the project as well as the importance of green infrastructure. Now, I will introduce you to our presenter, Kristin Moretz. She is the Capital Projects Director of the city, and Kristin works directly with Long Engineering to bring the stormwater improvement and green infrastructure project to life. All right, here we go.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Helen, for that introduction. This presentation is going to give you all some background about the origins and design elements of the Northwoods project, as well as the ways that you, as a resident, can learn more about green infrastructure and conservation tips for your own homes. So, first and foremost, what is stormwater? Stormwater refers to the water, such as rain or snow, that falls to the surface of the earth. It is important to understand that wastewater and drinking water is treated, while stormwater never actually makes it to a treatment plant. It discharges directly into our water, along with everything else it picks up along its journey over land. Stormwater becomes a concern when it picks up debris, chemicals, dirt, and other pollutants as it flows, eventually reaching a lake, river, stream, wetland, or local waterway. Historically, communities have used gray infrastructure systems that include gutters or pipes, but as gray infrastructure in many areas is aging, the weather patterns change, and the existing capacity to manage large volumes of stormwater is decreasing significantly. Heavy rainstorms can cause flooding that damages property and infrastructure, especially in older communities like Avondale that have little infrastructure to begin with. To meet this challenge, many communities are installing green infrastructure systems to bolster their capacity to manage stormwater. By doing so, these communities become more resilient and achieve environmental, social, and economic benefits. So, what is green infrastructure? Green infrastructure is a systematically managed network of open space that conserves ecosystems and provides associated benefits to human populations. Basically, green infrastructure filters and absorbs stormwater where it falls. These elements can be woven into a community at several scales. Examples at these urban scale could include a rain barrel up against a house or a row of trees along a major city street. Neighborhood scale green infrastructure could include acres of open park space, planting rain gardens like we have in Northwoods, or constructing a wetland. When green infrastructure systems are installed throughout a community, city, or across a regional watershed, they provide cleaner air and water, as well as a significant value for the community with flood protection, diverse habitat, and beautiful green spaces. The green infrastructure type that was chosen and designed for the Northwoods project was a series of rain gardens. This 1.7 acre area located in Avondale Estates consists of a mostly wooded area with Cobbs Creek running through it, and then all around Cobbs Creek are wetlands. This sketch shows the beginning of Cobbs Creek and the amount of wetlands located in this area. The design of Northwoods entailed special challenges and goals due to the presence of both elements, including protecting the stream buffers. Now we can get into more detail about the environmental history of Northwoods as well as Cobbs Creek. Cobbs Creek has significance because it is the headwaters of 4 major watersheds: South Fork Peachtree Creek, Shoal Creek, Cobbs Creek, and Indian Creek. While this is a positive for Avondale Estates, since we are not getting polluted water from our watersheds upstream, it also means we have a responsibility as a community to protect our watershed for ourselves and our downstream communities. In 2018, Cobbs Creek was added to the Environmental Protection Division's 2018 Integrated 303D, 303B streams list. What does that mean? It means that there are specific pollutants in this stream that do not allow the stream to meet its anticipated function. So the Cobbs Creek stream segment was identified as not meeting its designated use for fishing due to elevated levels of fecal chloroform bacteria and sediment impacts on the fish. This is actually why the Lake Avondale Cobbs Creek area is a catch and release instead of being able to catch the fish and actually eat them. Later in the presentation, we will discuss the potential sources for these impacts and how the Northwoods Rain Garden will assist in decreasing the pollutant load in Cobbs Creek. So here's a map of the estimated contributing area into Cobbs Creek. There are roughly 36 acres of urban runoff that flows into the Northwoods area. If you recall from the table I showed a few slides ago, it mentions that urban runoff is a potential source for pollutants, specifically fecal chloroform bacteria. But when people think of urban as the pollutant source, they think of skyscrapers, they think of all kinds of concrete and really high density developments. But even single family homes and developments like we see in Avondale Estates have potential for such issues. Potential causes for fecal chloroform in Avondale Estates include sanitary sewer overflows, poor sanitary sewer connections, not collecting pet waste or bird feces that are carried over land by stormwater. Another important item to note on this map is that the 36-acre contributing basin is heading into a very small creek, even though it's a very large basin itself. And because Avondale Estates does not have significant underground stormwater utilities due to its age, most of the stormwater is carried above ground. As we discussed earlier in the presentation, stormwater does not get treated. It doesn't go to a water treatment plant or anything like that before entering a local waterway. Therefore, a large drainage area gives even more opportunity to pick up pollutants along the way. So we spoke a little bit about bacterial pollutants and the potential causes. Now let's focus on the secondary pollutant of Cobbs Creek and our Northwoods area, which is sediment. If we think back to the size of the drainage basin, the amount of water that's coming into the Northwoods protected area is very high in both speed and volume. So, and since it's coming into this concentrated location, the bank of Cobbs Creek became severely eroded. This picture is from 2019 conditions, showing how much the bank of Cobbs Creek has been completely washed out. And where does that end up? It ends up in Lake Avondale. So the blue arrows on this map show the location where the water would flow quickly down Berkeley Road, jump the curb, and enter the creek. The photo on the right is taken where that yellow circle is shown on the map. And this is a photo that was taken in 2019. It even shows the public fence that was there for public safety. So as we think about the location of that public fence and we move to the next slide, here are some photos I took 3 years later. And it shows that the fence is no longer even able to be used as public safety. So much erosion has continued to happen that it eroded well past the fence. So you can also think about how much sediment entered Lake Avondale during that time. So now that you have a background on the current conditions, we can focus on the Northwoods project itself. The NPDES permit requires Avondale Estates to take steps and address impaired streams, including implementing best management practices in order to restore the stream bank, reduce the pollutants entering the stream and Lake Avondale, and improve water quality for the stream, the wetlands, the lakes, and all water bodies downstream. So the rain garden concept was born. The rain gardens will improve elements causing the bank erosion and the hazardous conditions. And while keeping these in mind and accomplishing these goals brought upon by the NPDES permit, the city also wanted to support its sustainability goals with a green infrastructure approach instead of relying primarily on gray infrastructure. So What is a rain garden? Rain gardens are small, shallow, sunken areas of plantings that collect stormwater runoff from roofs, streets, and sidewalks, also known as bioretention cells. They are designed to mimic the natural ways that water flows over land and actually infiltrate and absorb into the ground to reduce stormwater pollution. This drawing is directly from the Northwoods plan set, and it shows the under drains as well as the final outfall location for water discharging into Cobbs Creek. These pieces all work together in this vegetated depression to treat and detain stormwater runoff. It is filtered by dense native vegetation and engineered soil media. This engineered soil media, it almost feels like sand. It is a very high concentration of sand and compost and some silt mixed in. The pollutants are removed by the plants and bacteria in the soil, and there's a rip-wrap blanket at the end of the project, and that's kind of after this 3-tiered rain garden approach, which we'll see in the next slide. There's kind of one final set of rock that dissipates the velocity of the water and allows it to kind of more slowly enter the creek, keeping the bank safe and stabilized. So the photo on the left shows an actual picture from Northwoods construction. As you can see, there's some filter fabric, there are under drains, and there are a lot of gravel as well that goes even before we put in this engineered soil. There's a significant layer of steps that allow for more infiltration. Another point that I want to emphasize at this point in the presentation is that the rain gardens for the Northwoods project are very significant in size. And these types of green infrastructure projects can be scaled down to capture and filter water on a single lot as well. One of the questions I often get is if mosquitoes will form from rain gardens. But as you can see from the graphic, the gravel drains, the soil type, as I mentioned earlier, being high in sand and compost, meaning that a properly constructed rain garden will not cause an increase of mosquitoes. And it's actually a great solution for that large spot in your yard that always puddles up during big rains or takes a long time to drain. These areas will actually facilitate that and bring native vegetation and wildlife to your lawn. So after the installation of the filter fabric and under drains, crushed and washed stone is added, as shown in the photo on the left. There's also a precast structure, and this is for the very final rain garden, the third rain garden. And this is the structure that if it completely fills up and the rain is so strong that these plants, the soil can't get to it, it will flow into this engineered structure, and that's what finally takes it to Cobbs Creek. So as we're putting these pieces together, you can see that this design is really trying to slow and filter the water so that we aren't getting as many of these pollutants of concern. The fecal chloroform and the sediment actually make it to our water bodies. So here is an excerpt from the Northwoods Rain Garden Plan showing all 3 of the rain gardens. And then it also shows the landscape plan. As you can see, all these tiny circles, those are all of the plants that are going to be going back in for this project. The early phases of this project did require tree removal due to the need for a certain volume within the rain gardens to capture and filter the large amount of water that was running down Berkeley Road. These primarily native plants will increase infiltration and divert the water to an outfall of the southern end of the property. The yellow circle from the map, it shows where planting of the bank erosion occurred. So this was the area we saw earlier in the presentation that had the fence around it, and then the fence stopped working because it eroded so much. This photo on the right, it was taken back in October, actually, and we have backfilled this area. We've compacted it and completely rebuilt the bank of Cobbs Creek. So now not only are we diverting the water using the rain gardens, so it's not damaging this section, we've also rebuilt and restabilized that bank. I do also want to mention that these silt fences and tree save will be removed at the end of the project too. I just wanted to get some, more current project photos. So the next few slides, I'm just showing a few of the trees and plants that we're going to be adding. So some of the trees, for example, the American sycamore or the swamp chestnut oak. And then this photo shows the series of photos shows some of the shrubs that we'll be planting. With trees and shrubs alone, we are adding over 900 new plants into the North Woods construction area. These types of plants are able to provide habitat for local species, and they are low maintenance, which provides an ideal environment for not only the city staff in being able to maintain such green infrastructure, but also for the local flora and fauna. If you are planning on attending the community planting day, you will be able to plant some of these yourself. While most of this presentation has been focused on large-scale green infrastructure projects, it is important to remember that these can be adapted to residential lots. This slide gives some ideas on how to use green infrastructure in your home to assist with stormwater runoff and help benefit the community. As the footprint of our homes and our driveways increases, as we're adding carriage homes and maybe growing the size of our driveway, the number of impervious surfaces within the Avondale community is increasing as well. The photos on the left show rerouting a downspout from an impervious surface like a driveway and moving it to your yard, or even a rain garden can be a great way to kind of reduce the amount of stormwater runoff that your home is contributing within Avondale Estates. The photos on the right demonstrate ways you can repave your driveway to assist with infiltration and lessen the amount of water entering the storm drain system. As we think about the 36-acre drainage facility that drains into Northwoods, if homes within that drainage system and basin used some of these techniques, we could reduce the amount of water going into it, as well as the pollutants that it's picking up along the way. So even if you're not planning to do any kind of major renovations or do any green infrastructure additions, there are other ways that you can reduce your stormwater runoff. This slide gives a few tips about the location of your sprinkler system, paying close attention to broken lines or direct contact with the spray onto your driveway or the nearby street or sidewalks. These sprinkler issues only add to the city's systems and will collect pollutants in your driveway and your grass. And it's a waste for your water bill. So some other things that you can do to decrease pollutants coming from your lot. You can wash your car from a professional car wash. The positive to professional car washes is they're required to have, detergents and basins that don't discharge directly into a stormwater system. But even if you do wash your car at home, you can do so in the grass and not the pavement. That way the water is seeping into the ground and the grass is doing some of that filtration for us, so that, some of these downstream features like our rain gardens aren't doing the bulk of the work. You can also use low or non-phosphate soap while you're doing that. You can use a drip pan under your car while you're changing the oil or doing any kind of maintenance. And if, say, there is a spill and you get, we've all changed our oil and had some spill onto the driveway, instead of washing that off with a hose, you can use something like cat litter or something that's absorbent, and that way these spills don't run into the storm drain. Another thing with car maintenance is thinking about recycling your batteries, your motor oil, or any auto fluids at designated drop-off locations. Generally, your mechanic will know, or even some of them recycle it themselves, or they know of good drop-off locations. So I appreciate you guys listening to this webinar. This allows us to spend more time on our planting day, actually getting our hands dirty and, planting and bringing Northwoods to life. So I appreciate you bearing with me and learning a little bit about green infrastructure, as well as some of the challenges that we're facing with Northwoods. The planting day has been rescheduled for Tuesday, November 28th from 9 to noon. I know it is cold this time of year. If it is like it feels today and it's very chilly outside, I will send emails to everyone who has registered if we need to push it back a few hours just for everyone's comfort. So please be prepared to bring a shovel, gloves, and a water bottle. The city will provide some water, some light refreshments, and come prepared to plant either half-gallon or gallon native plants on the engineered soil media of the rain garden. So you'll kind of get to feel, especially as we're all used to this red clay in Georgia, the complete anomaly that is this soil media. And also please come dressed for the weather. Highly recommend layers. It feels chilly at first until you're digging a couple of holes and carrying plants around, as well as comfortable work shoes. So thank you guys so much for coming to the Northwoods and Green Infrastructure webinar. I will be looking at the Q&A if we have any. Oh, it doesn't look like we do. Okay, awesome. Well, if there are no questions, I really appreciate everyone who attended. And if you have any questions, you can always contact me for updates on the project or ideas for ways that you can use green infrastructure in your own home. The city is going to be starting to present those types of items slowly on our website. So as that occurs, just stay tuned between now and Earth Day, and we'll have some ideas for you in your own homes. Thank you all.